What's up, everyone? This is the Next Day Podcast, episode 179 with Mikel and
Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So today's episode is going to be a special one. We have a Women's History Month episode, so we're going to be doing
series. We're doing a series.
that's what I was going to get into.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to be doing a series of how many, Tanyka?
1, 2, 3, 4. I think 4.
All right, 4 parts. So if you guys also like we're doing a little bit similar to what we do with Black History Month,
Mhm.
also check those out. But if you guys haven't checked the Women's History Month episodes that we did the last couple years as well,
Actually,
check
no,
those.
we only did a series last year. We didn't start doing a series until last year. I do think we did like an episode centering Women's History Month, but we actually only started doing the series last year.
Oh, my bad. I
Mhm.
apologize for that. I thought we did like a series last
No.
year. I thought it was the year before we did one episode of the Women's History Month,
Well, we've
and
only
then
been
we
doing this
did.
for a couple years. A
Oh,
little over 2 years. So our first year, we did do one, and then we started doing the series last year.
okay. Oh, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last year, isn't it the women's
No,
last?
we said 2 series. That's actually this one's our second series.
Yeah, I think.
2 prior series. We haven't done 2 prior series. We only did 1
Did I say
prior
two
series.
prior series?
Yeah.
That's what I meant last year,
Oh,
and then I was gonna go to the one that we had in the first month. But yeah, so yeah,
oh, okay.
basically,
Well, it's not really a series, just an episode.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, yeah, if you want to check those out, go ahead. The first one we did was basically one episode was basically with like a group of women with Ramona and your friend
Yeah, Sharon.
Darian, and then the year after that we did
I
uh
can't even remember what we did a year ago.
okay, yeah. So I think we just did one, just me and you just did one, and then we did uh we talked about something. I can't remember what it was,
No, we
but
did a series last year.
we did a series? Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, we did a series last year. Just check those out, and yeah. So, what are we doing this year? Um, Tanika.
So, for this episode, and I'm just kind of going through. Um, I think kind of the running theme I think for this series is mainly about women who are being, you know, victimized in some way, but how they take that victimization, that survival story, and turn it into something that can better benefit women moving forward. So that's kind of the theme that I realized that I kind of started to do with this one. So the first one we're going to be talking about is Alison Botha.
Mhm.
Is the first person we're going to be talking about. So this story, harrowing story that we're going to talk about, is mainly notes based off of a documentary that I watched. Um, uh, Actually, that's yesterday. I just did the notes on this yesterday, and um, it is kind of the only thing that has the full story besides like another podcast or something like that, um, of this, and it's in her point of view. I'll mention the documentary at the end so that you can watch it because it is very, very harrowing and definitely brought me to tears at times. So yeah, I'll reference that at the end, but let's get into Allison's story. So Alison
Mhm,
Botha, she lives or lived at the time, I don't know if she still does, but lived in Port Elizabeth in South Africa on December 18th, 1994. So she was about
mhm,
27 years old.
mhm,
She had left home to run some errands. She was at like her home. They kind of had like a, for some of her friends were over. They were kind of doing like a little, little house party. Just, her and her friends. But she had left to run some errands. And when she got home, it was late. It was dark out. She's right there. She's right there in front of her door. Unfortunately, there was a white man that was waiting for her at her home. Whether he fell upon her at random or he was watching her, I don't know those details. But he was there and he put a knife to her neck and basically said, move over, um, or I'll kill you. So he basically took her and the car and kept like trying to reassure her and say, I'm not gonna kill you. I just need your car. That's it. I'm not gonna kill you or anything like that. Um, and he, I guess, in a way to try to make her feel comfortable, he is kind of like, my name is Clinton. What's your name? And she tells him, and he says, do you have a boyfriend? And she answered with whatever she answered. I don't remember if she did or she didn't. Not that that matters, but she said it gave her a sense of security, which I guess this human to human interaction may have given her the sense of security. I think, and maybe this is just in today's lens and the things that have happened to women um, over time when it
mhm,
comes to crime. But for me, I think if a man were to, in this situation, especially to ask me if I have a boyfriend, would actually not make me feel secure at all. Because I
mhm,
would be asking, why does that matter? Whether I do or
mhm,
I didn't. Especially when you're telling me that you're only taking the car and you're not trying to hurt me. But then they kind of stop at a red light. Another man comes into the car. She said, I caught this man's eyes in like the rear view mirror. And she said that any security she felt at this point turned to fear because his eyes, she said, were pure evil. You just look at a person and you can tell there's darkness behind your eyes. That's what she was feeling. Then the car stopped, she said, in an alcove. At this point, she's terrified. Clinton, I guess at this point, all masks are down, and he says to her, are you going to fight? So I won't go into the details of what she says. She does kind of go into some details on the documentary. If again, I'll reference the documentary if you want to know all those details, which I don't know why you would, but anyways, he basically made her perform a sexual act on him, and she said that he actually performed the same sexual act on her. Leave it at that. Um, then he proceeded to rape her.
mhm,
The other one, she said, and she does catch a name at some point, but we'll get to that later. The other one, um, pretty much did the same thing. And in the process of this, Clinton, she found out that actually his name was not Clinton, it was Franz. Then the second man started to just randomly stab her. She said she counted the amount of times this man stabbed her, and it was 7. Then Franz, she said, took over, and then he proceeded to stab her again. She counted, it was 17 times. So you do the math, that is over 30 stab wounds to this poor woman. They said that they basically went to the car thinking probably that she is dead. And again, how would you not be after and we'll get to where she's been stabbed and how bad this was. But you've been stabbed over 30 times.
wow,
How do you not, how do you survive that, right?
mhm,
So they think she's dead. They throw her clothes out of the car and they drive off. So she's in this area by herself, naked, brutally stabbed and clinging on to whatever life she potentially still has.
mhm, mhm,
she says, and again, if anything, just to kind of understand what this woman went through, I think this documentary is so well done. It was hard to listen to, but it's so necessary for the story that
Mhm.
I didn't have, because I knew the story before, but I didn't have that perception. The sound of her breathing through her windpipe scared her, and trust me, how they managed to recreate that sound in this documentary,
Mm.
I had to pause and I just wept because I can't imagine this is the sound you hear, something that I don't think any human should ever be hearing, especially when it's them. She realized at that point that she was dying. Then the sound, she said, it stopped. And at this point, she says that I remember looking above myself and thinking, I can go back. I still want to live. I still want to, be able to change my life and do things different. I'm not ready to die yet. And then she says she went back into her body and the noise came back. So
Mhm.
I guess in a sense, she did die, even if it was for a matter of minutes, but she did die. And by whatever grace of God, she had the strength to go back into her body. She said at this point, the first thing that she did was write their names in the sand, just in case you never know, right? She wrote Franz and Tiens. Tiens was the other name that she heard the Franz guy say. So she wrote that in the sand. Then she realized this trigger warning, y'all, because this is bad. We're kind of going to get to how extensive her injuries are here. She realized that her intestines were outside of her body. So what she did was grabbed her intestines, bundled it up, and she stood up because she said she tried to crawl, but the crawling was too painful. So she's like, I have to stand. And she stood up. And she said, I don't know how I did it, but I just started to walk. But before she started to walk, she put her hand on her throat.
Huh?
And I think kind of what she was talking about here was, if I remember correctly from also listening to other podcasts talk about this, is she couldn't see properly when she was standing up. She didn't know why she couldn't see properly. Like, it was black. She couldn't see. She ended up realizing the reason she couldn't see properly, because something, I think, whatever it was, something in her optic nerve was being affected. She didn't realize what was going on. So when she put her hand to her throat, she realized that her head was flopped backwards. So
Mhm.
she was nearly decapitated. Like, put that into perspective as well. Her intestines, she's been disemboweled, and that's the doctors will say that later, but she was disemboweled, nearly decapitated, and we'll get into the strength of this woman because I don't I don't know how she did it, but um she after this is when she starts walking, she walks to a road and then she just flopped down, hoping that someone is going to drive by and someone is going to find her.
Mhm.
A car, she says she heard a car coming, and her first thought, which I think anyone's the first thought, is what if it's them coming back to make sure that she is really dead? What if they came back to that area and they see she's not there and they're trying to go and find her now? What if what if that's what's happening right now? And again, just the fear. But the car stopped, assesses the situation, drives off.
Mhm.
Now, I can come at this person, and trust me, probably in my mind I want to, but I could come at this person and be like, how could you stop there and just not help this woman? But at the same time, if I was that car and I saw that scene, I don't know if I could come out the car. It
Mhm.
would be fear.
Mhm.
It would also be the fear of what am I looking at?
Right.
It could be the fear of what if whoever did that to her is still around? What if this is a trap? Like, I I can't imagine, like, what I would do in a similar situation. But thank God another car came, and now we're gonna kinda talk from the perspective of that person that did stop to help her. His name is Tian, not the guy that did this, but a different person. Tian, I think it's Eloyd, and he was coming back from vacation, just, thinking he's ending off his vacation, he's feeling good, and when he stops in the road and he sees her lying there and says, the bloody scene, she's not clothed, the whole bit. He just stopped and he went straight to her. She couldn't speak, he says. Her eyes were bloodshot, like bloodshot. And he told her, and I thought this was very sweet of him, he told her that she had pretty eyes. A friend of his who was there also had a cell phone. Again, this is 1994. Cell phones were barely a thing at this time. But luckily, this person had a cell phone. And I don't know what's going on in South Africa, okay? Um, but y'all need to do just a little bit better because the ambulance took 40 minutes to get to her. 40 minutes. And there was no sense of urgency, he said, on their part because it's like they thought, well, she's going to die anyway. So what's the point of rushing? But boy, does she defy the odds in this. He says, I decided to become a doctor that day because I wanted to help people. The doctor who treated her said he saw the cut to her neck and her trachea, I think is what he was saying, was cleanly cut right through. He thought, that was the only thing that they were dealing with here until he saw she was completely disemboweled. They believed that she may never be able to have children. Now, I was actually going to leave this part out because I'm like, her bearing children in the future is the least of my concerns. We don't even know if she wants to have children. Like, I don't care for that, but I only added it for reasons that will make sense later. Then another surgeon named Dr. Angeloff came in and said, I can do this. I can fix her. I can fix this and we're going to make her better. And he says, I think the doctor who performed the scar to her abdomen I don't know if he's passed on because he wasn't in this documentary, but the other doctor who dealt with her neck, he said, when I saw her signing the consent form, her hand was steady. She wrote her mother's number down. She would never know, you would never know what she endured in that moment.
Right.
Where she was stabbed, luckily, did not hit any internal organs. Now, again, over 30 stab wounds, and not one actually hit an internal organ. One of the organs in her neck actually would have killed, if it was hit, would have killed her in 3 to 4 minutes. Thank God, from some sort of grace of God, they didn't do that. Then they decide, okay, well, clearly a crime happened here, so let's call the police. The detective said, I have heard of Franz. I knew of him. He was fairly well known. He was known from another case. And he said he also knew Tian as well, but, you know, we'll get to how Franz was kind of known because he's done this before. They showed multiple pictures of people to her, to Allison, and she pointed them both out, no problem. But again, South Africa, I don't know what y'all doing here because this is ridiculous what they do next. The prosecution believed that their case would be stronger if she could actually verbalize the names of her attackers. If y'all can remember, she can't speak. Her head was nearly off her neck. She can't speak. Like, she cannot speak right now. It's not that she can't speak, but especially because they're trying to heal her, she had like a tube down her throat and she could not speak because of it. And the doctor did not feel good about taking this thing out of her neck in order for her to verbalize the names, um, because he was afraid of more injury. But she said, listen, take it out. take the tube out. Again, the strength of this woman. Once out, the tube out, she said, this was her first words were, "That's lovely." And then she said their names. We did quickly hear from a woman named Ragney, just to kind of get, I guess, an outside perspective of how bad this really was, to witness a friend of Allison's and another girl that was also friends with Allison. When they saw her, they couldn't contain the tears, and she told them, "Don't cry. Look, I didn't even crack a nail," as a joke. And they said, but she had cracked a nail. There was blood and dirt under her nails, and yeah, they were indeed cracked. When Allison was let out of the hospital, she had to go back to the hospital every day to deal with her wounds. Her abdomen had to be had to be scraped every day until it bled to promote new cell growth, which I can imagine is probably very painful. She had to do plastic surgery. Once, she fully healed, she knew there would be things that would never go away. And she says that she still deals with medical issues
Uh-huh.
today because
Uh-huh.
of what
Uh-huh.
she endured. But the detective, Melvin, 'cause I didn't say his name before, tells about these two scumbags and how, like, bad this was. And this is maybe more like the legal system could have maybe done a little bit better here. But this was not their first time doing this. There were two
Right.
others. The first one was raped a week before she had actually reported it because she was afraid. They told her, "If you report us, we'll kill you." But she did report them and they were caught and whatever. The second one, now this is horrific. She was a pregnant woman and she went straight to the police like, this isn't happening. And again, they went to prison and they both decided that the next one they decide to attack, which is like, how about you just don't attack anybody, but you're scum, so whatever. The next
Mhm.
one they said that they would attack would be one that they kill so that they don't have to be caught again. So when Franz was brought into the police station, I thought this was fantastic. He's brought to the police station, he was told, "So you're being charged with attempted murder." And he said, Whatever for." Like, what are you talking about?" Because Allison is still alive.
Right.
And he was shocked. And he said, "Well, can't fight it because she will tell you everything." And he took a ring off of his finger. So he took a ring off his finger and he said, "This is hers." So he took a trophy, the sick took a trophy.
Mhm.
And the detective said that it still had blood on it, most likely hers.
Mhm.
Um, and this part because these, again, scumbags have families. Franz, had a wife and two children. Just sickening.
All right.
Allison had to go to the police to show her body for pictures, basically document. Like, she had to strip and show, which again is traumatizing again in and of itself.
Mhm.
Melvin said that her tummy had not yet healed. There was actually a hole in her stomach that had to heal from the inside. So then they bring out, I think it's Henile, the car. She was the prosecutor. Before this crime, a victim would have had to face her attackers in order to identify them. So, like, when they do like the lineup and you like got to pick the person. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if this was the case everywhere, but at least in South Africa, you had to actually face them, which again, another traumatizing thing. But Allison's case, they decided, you know what, let's not do that. We're going to have a one-way glass that only she can see them, they can't see her, and that way she will identify these men. And this started them doing that moving forward. They still do that today.
Mhm.
My question is why wasn't this happening before? But again, that's like another change that Allison kind of um, promoted in a sense. That change for victims that came after her would not have to endure what people before her had to endure. Um, even though they couldn't see her, it still terrified her to be in the same space as them, obviously. She said that they looked different, but 6 and 13, that was them, and it was them. The prosecutor said sometimes it's easier to deal with a victim post-mortem. And at first, I'm like, bitch, what? But what she means is, to give her grace here, what she means is
Huh.
how it affected her. Not so much that she'd rather deal with a dead body, but like
Uh,
when it's a dead body, I guess you can kind of uh, take yourself out of it. But when it's a woman who is still alive, who was left for dead, it affects you differently, especially when you are a woman as well.
right.
And she said that she cried to her husband. She thought I would drive by where they had breakfast the next day after they attacked her, using the same bloody knife that they attacked her with to have breakfast. Sick. Franz said, I want to see a priest to cast out the demons that made him do this. Basically, trying to use the insanity card in the situation, trying to be like, I'm nuts. And no one bought it. It was whatever. Melvin says, I don't like hunting. I don't like killing, but I would not put cuffs on this guy, or both of them, really. I wouldn't put cuffs on either of them because I wanted them to run. I
Uh,
wanted them to. And when they did, I would have the opportunity to kill them. He wanted to kill them. But he said they never ran. They never ran. So, whatever. But what
uh,
is really sad, and I guess this again just more so shows how a perpetrator's actions can affect other people. Um, Franz's father couldn't handle what his son had done, and he unfortunately unalived himself 2 years later, which is absolutely horrific. Because I can imagine like the backlash of what he did and how that is then put on his parents, especially, or his children, to kind of be like, you created us like the devil's spawn, and
uh,
your
uh,
father's this. Like, I can't, that's horrific and it's really sad.
uh,
When it came to sentencing, the judge never wanted them to be released, ever. The judge had never done that before, but looking back, it was possible that he would have imposed the death sentence for both of them if the death sentence was even an option at that time. It had been abolished in South Africa.
uh,
After Allison moved in with her after the trial, Allison moved in with her mom.
uh,
She said she couldn't go back to her home, obviously. That's where all of this started, so she didn't feel comfortable doing that.
right.
She also still had wounds that had to be taken care of, so, obviously her mom would assist with that. But when she was healed, she decided to have a proper bath, just be able to soak in a bath. And that was the first time that she said that she looked at herself in the mirror and saw, like, the physical scars that were left behind. And then I guess with that probably brought to light the emotional scars that she dealt with because of this.
Mhm,
And that's when the depression set in. She said she didn't care about
mhm,
anything. She didn't care about work. She didn't care about taking care of herself. She blamed Franz and Tien's for what they've done to her, which fair enough. But then she remembered thinking, that night I had to choose life or death, and she fought for life. Blaming them gave them the power that she did not want to give them. She had to pull herself out of this depression that she was feeling, in the same way that she had to fight for her life in the first place. And then I think what really seemed to really push her into the direction that she would go on, for the rest of her life, hopefully, or almost that. I believe she still does. Is she got a request to speak on kind of what she went through, kind of doing like a motivational type speech. And she did that and she loved it. She found what helped her heal and she hasn't stopped. And that's kind of also her way of giving back to the community and to women that this is what I went through. And, this is what you can do to kind of help. And she said that she kind of adopted this like ABC thing for her, and it stood for attitude, belief, and choice. When the only time she said the depression ever came back during this time was when she learned in the newspaper, not even a phone call, the newspaper, that her attackers were up for parole. If we remember, I said earlier, the judge did not give them parole. But for whatever reason, in 2015, they were eligible for parole. When the judge said that they should never, okay, I already said that. Okay. A woman,
Uh-huh.
this is something that shows how women also need to do just a little bit better, because how dare you? A woman in the States contacted Allison saying, "Hey, listen, my daughter, she's engaged to Franz." Okay, there's something wrong there, but number two, will you help us? Like, will you help by, I guess, saying that Franz is perfectly fine? Let's let him out of prison so that my daughter can be with him or something. Are you insane? You're asking a woman who nearly died at the hands of your so-called daughter's fiance, and you're going to the person that he nearly killed and asking her to help with him being released? Are you crazy?
Huh.
Like, you can't be for real right now. And let's do better. Maybe instead of going to the person who survived him and saying to them, "Will you help us?" Maybe go to your daughter and said instead and say, "Maybe you need to speak to somebody because this guy is insane."
Huh.
And like Allison says, he's a
Huh.
known sex offender.
Huh.
What is your motive here? This is ridiculous. But anyways, um, so she finds out here, which is just also very troubling. He gets access to Facebook, because how else did he meet this person? Or some form of internet. He is getting access to that. What if he's searching Allison, watching and seeing what she's doing? He clearly is. We'll get to that. But what if he's watching her? Doesn't she have the right to know that this man is on Facebook? I would think she has the right to know, or any form of social media. So she knows how to guard herself. She didn't know he was on Facebook. She emailed the police about this, and she said to them, "I do not want this to come out, so please do not say anything." To later then find out that her email was printed and given to Franz. Where's her protection? Then we get on-screen text at this point that said, quote, "Franz requested an interview with the filmmakers. He had demands. First, a letter of forgiveness from Allison, signed. Profit shares from Allison's book sales and motivational speaking." Clearly, he's watching her to know she's even doing that. Backdated, by the way, because he believed what he did to her is the only reason for her quote unquote success story. His request was swiftly denied.
Huh.
Ye Okay. Ah,
Uh,
again, yes, maybe what you did to her, how about you just didn't have done this to her in the first place? You do not get to profit off of her survival story when you're the reason she's here in the first place. Go yourself. Sorry. I got angry. Like, it's just he's disgusting, by the way. Disgusting looking. Ugh.
huh.
Anyway, despite her being told that she would not have children, she gave birth to 2 boys. She had no issues falling pregnant, which she was very surprised by. Her marriage didn't last, however. I think she recently got divorced, like, within maybe 5 or so years. Um, but she got her children, which it was a miracle in her eyes. She loved the late night feedings with her boys, which maybe some people might be like, "Eh, I kinda also would like to sleep," but she loved that. It's something that she thought she would never have. So I totally get that. On August 7th, 1995, Franz was sentenced to 3 life terms with no parole. So again, explain to me how he was brought up for parole. Beans was sentenced to 1 life term and 25 years with no parole. So again, the difference being is that they believe that Franz perpetrated the other 2 cases with those other 2 women, whereas they thought that Tien's didn't. So I don't know. However, in October 2015, like I said before, they became eligible for parole, and That's basically the documentary. So, like, the reason I did
Uh,
this is to kind of show the strength of a woman
right.
by the highest degree. I don't think I could ever survive what she survived.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it makes you kind of look at your life and be like, yeah, sometimes certain things suck in my life.
Uh-huh.
But my God, if she could do it, I can do anything. Because she sure as hell managed to do everything. And watching the documentary made me very emotional because, again, like I said, I knew the story, but putting the faces to the names and um, kind of how they did this documentary with the reenactments, I thought it was a beautiful documentary. I thought this was beautifully done. I loved hearing from her, and just also just how optimistic and how positive she seems to be throughout this, and it's again, it's like, I don't know how you do it. I feel like I would be angry at the world, but somehow you're not, and I think she's absolutely, just I'm in awe of her. That's all I can
Yes.
say is I'm in awe of her. If you're interested in the documentary is called, Alison, and it's on
Uh-huh.
Prime,
Uh-huh.
and it's about an hour. And yeah, it was a very beautiful documentary. I thought it was great. It was a very well done documentary that
That's good.
put into perspective. But yeah.
That's good. Um, awesome. Awesome story. Um, yeah. Yeah. I have nothing else to say other than um that go check out the documentary, as Tadika said. And yeah, where is it the documentary available at?
Prime. Prime Video.
Huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the only thing that I found it on.
Um,
So yeah. It's and I think you don't have to have like an extra channel or anything like that. I think it's just Prime and
mhm.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not. So yeah, we're going to have a multiple episodes of our Women History Month series.
Mhm.
Like I said, if you want to check out our last year's, check that out, and then the one episode that we did the year after, uh, check that out after as well. Um, yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it, I believe.
Mhm.
What's our next episode going to be about, Tanika?
If I'm
On based on
correct.
women's based
Yeah.
on women.
Yeah, if I'm correct, the next one is going to be I think we're gonna talk about sorry, I'm just trying to bring it back up. We're gonna be talking about Elizabeth Smart,
Uh,
as well as, Elizabeth Thomas, just it kinda came after, and it does tie in with Elizabeth Smart as well, so that's kind of what we're gonna be talking about, these 2 women. Again, I don't know if you know anything about Elizabeth Smart, but it does seem pretty fitting because we actually just had a documentary come out about Elizabeth Smart's story on Netflix. So yeah, we're going to be talking about her and the great things that I think she has done as well,
mm,
following her ordeal that we'll talk
okay.
about.
All right. All right.
All right, that's it
Uh,
for us.
yeah, that's it for us. See you
We'll
later,
be back
guys.
on Monday, I believe.
Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye. If you liked what you heard with our podcast, you can head on over to our website, which is solo.to/next take podcast. There you can get any of the links to any of our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod. You can also find links to our Reddit page and many other things, I'm sure. Can't remember all the top of my head. You can also email us at mikeltanika@gmail.com. There you can send us any inquiries that you have, any questions, or also any episode ideas. And if you do have episode ideas, just make sure you put in the subject line episode ideas, and we'll add it to our list. If you also liked us, you can like us, rate us, follow us on any of your favorite podcast apps. You can rate us, however, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll also move forward and share or spot a light on those who give us 5-star ratings in the future. That is it for us. We'll see you next time for the episode.